The MLB Draft is this weekend, and for the first time in franchise history, the Cleveland Guardians will have the first overall pick. And as a Cleveland Guardians fan, I have a pretty clear idea of who I think the team should draft. Most of these takes are not coming from my own mind, they're coming from experts, so if I'm wrong, blame them, not me. But if I'm right, blame me because I picked the right opinions. Now to start things off, I have my 10 through 8 prospects for the Guardians. That is Braden Montgomery, Hagen Smith, and Nick Kurtz. Nick Kurtz was a top prospect at one point throughout the draft process, but he doesn't provide a lot of positional value at first base. He is a great hitter from what I can see, but I think there's guys that you probably would want to take higher than him at that position, higher up on this list. Braden Montgomery is a interesting choice. He's a two-way player right now and a switch hitter, but they said that he's better as a lefty hitter. I think that's a lot of what ifs for a number 1 overall pick. If you're going to try to switch him to a lefty hitter, and take away that pitching ability, I think that's kind of a lot of changes that you're going to be making to somebody that you want to be kind of a finished product, not a finished product, but somewhat of a can't miss prospect. And then Hagen Smith, probably the second best pitching prospect of the players in the draft this year, but there are a lot of injury concerns with him. He's had Tommy John surgery already, and I think you would probably try to stay away of someone with injury concerns at number 1, or you can end up like the Astros with Brady Aiken. Now moving on to my second tier, I have my 6 through 7 guys. I think there's a clear top 5 in this draft in terms of prospects. But in my 6th and 7th slot, I have 2 high schoolers, Connor Griffin and Bryce Rainier. I've seen back and forth on who is the better prospect out of the 2. They seem like both high upside shortstops, maybe second basemen, but they have lots of tools, lots of potential. But from the Guardians' perspective, I don't know if you want to risk going for sort of a long-term project in a high school bat. It worked out with Lindor, and it could work out with these guys. They could be really great players, but the Guardians kind of are in a unique position as they are one of the best teams in the MLB right now with the number 1 pick. I think they might want to try to get someone that can contribute in the near future, as this core seems to be a pretty good core, and you might want to add a piece to that while you can, instead of waiting for a high schooler to develop for 3-4 years, who knows how long, until they are contributors at the major league level. Now on to my top 5. I honestly would not be mad with any one of these 5 picks, but there is a clear 1, 2, 3. But number 5 is Jack Caglione. I think that he is a great hitter. He's got lots of power. I don't really see him as a pitcher moving forward, and a lot of the scouts are saying that. That's where I'm getting it from. But at this point, who knows? But the biggest thing that concerns me with him is the contact. He's chasing a lot. I mean, he is getting contact right now in college, but you bring that up to the minors, even the lowest pro ball level, I don't know if that's going to stay the same. If he is chasing, that is something maybe he can work on, but it's kind of a big if and a risk that I would want to stay from at the number 1 pick. Number 4 is a player that I've seen a lot of people put at number 1, and that's J.J. Weatherholt. And he might be a really good player, and there is a lot of talent there. And some people are saying the talent is comparable to some of the guys higher up on this list. But the thing with him is he's got a little bit of injury concerns, and I don't know if you really want to do that with the number 1 overall pick. I understand that he might not make as much money, and you may be able to go under slot with him, but you have the number 1 pick. You got to go for it. Also, another note on Weatherholt. As a Guardians fan, I think I'm done with late hitting shortstops, and he doesn't jump out of the page with the power. So I would be scared to draft another shortstop who might not be able to hit for power after the amount that have come up in the past couple of years. I don't want Weatherholt to be another guy filling that slot on this team. Number 3 is a guy that I had as my number 1 prospect for the longest time, and that is Charlie Condon. He is a hitter. He's not going to play the most premier position. He's going to be a corner outfielder, first baseman, third baseman, but he's probably the best pure hitter in the draft this year. The thing that worries me with him for the Guardians is he's probably going to command the most amount of money for slot value, and you're probably going to have to go over a little over slot to get him, and I don't think the Guardians are going to want to do that, especially with the 2 other picks that they have on day 1, where they're going to try to build up that farm system a little bit more. I don't know if they're going to want to throw all their money at Condon, and honestly, I don't know if it's worth it to throw all your money at Condon. My number 2 guy is probably a little bit controversial, and that's Chase Burns, but I think he is probably the best pitcher in the draft, and I don't think that many scouts are doubting that. And he is a power pitcher. There are injury concerns with power pitchers throughout the major leagues, but you look at a guy like Paul Skeens and you think Chase Burns could maybe be something like that. He's probably not going to be Paul Skeens, but he's going to be a very good pitcher. And being a college pitcher, I think he's definitely the closest of any player in the draft to being a major leaguer. I think that he could probably contribute, not this year, but maybe next year. And I think where the Guardians are right now as a competitor, they're going to want to add talent to the roster right now. You look at their roster, they may lose Bieber. Their starting pitchers are not performing as they've used to, and their farm system is like in a spot that I've never seen it before with the lack of good starting pitchers. I don't know if it's due to the fact that they lost Ruben Nieva to the Padres, or what's really going on, but I think that they need more talent in pitching, and I would not mind going out and getting Chase Burns. I also think you could go a little under slot with him, and that's maybe the draw that you're getting for Weatherholt. I think you could do the same thing for Burns and get away with it and take those other 2 picks, build that farm system up a little bit. But with that being said, I think there is a clear number 1 prospect, and that's Travis Bazzana. I mean, this guy is toolsy as hell, and he has probably the best argument to compete with Condon for the best pure hitter in the draft. I don't think there is another guy who pure talent level is better than Bazzana in this draft, and I think the Guardians should go out and get him regardless of if they have to pay him the entire slot value. I know there are concerns with him being a second baseman, but the Guardians are not afraid to move infielders to the outfield and see what they got. The bottom line here is that Travis Bazzana has the highest chance of anyone in this draft of becoming a star. I'm not saying that he has the highest ceiling of any player, but I think that the chance of him becoming a very, very good MLB player is the highest of anyone here. And as a Guardians fan, I would feel very comfortable with the Guardians taking him at the number 1 pick. But that's just my opinion. I think that as long as the Guardians pick one of those top 5 guys, ideally one of those top 3 guys, I'm not going to be mad. And honestly, my trust is in the front office. They're going to do a lot more due diligence than me. And also, these players are young. They got a long way to go. Who knows who's going to be the best player when it's all said and done. Let me know who you guys think the Guardians will draft number 1. And if you're seeing this after the draft, let me know what you think of the Guardians' number 1 pick.
With the first pick of the 2023 MLB Draft,
Alexander the Swag asks you to subscribe to his YouTube channel.